Even in the off-season, Max Verstappen can't seem to stay away from getting into fights with other drivers. This time, though, his battle is happening in a place you won't expect. What kind of trouble has the four-time champion gotten himself in today? Max Verstappen, fresh off his fourth consecutive Formula One title in 2024, has found himself at the centre of a fiery online racing controversy. A Williams-affiliated sim racer launched a scathing attack on the Red Bull star, branding him a spoiled brat who would be nothing without his father. Verstappen, a well-known sim racing enthusiast, picked up his first penalty of the 2025 season earlier this month after a dramatic first corner collision during a virtual Daytona event. The Dutchman, whose car sustained damage in the incident, was slapped with a drive-through penalty and ultimately finished a disappointing 12th. This week, tensions flared once again as Verstappen found himself in another virtual dust-up, this time at Road America. The 27-year-old tangled with Jaden Munoz, a Williams iRacing Academy driver, heading into Turn 1. Sim racing may be virtual, but for Munoz the drama is very real. In the aftermath of the clash, he didn't hold back, making his frustration with the Dutchman loud and clear. "Look how dumb he is. He doesn't change, ever. He's so dumb." And that's not even the worst of it. Already out of contention, Max Verstappen appeared to take matters into his own hands in a simmering sim racing feud. The Red Bull star, circulating at the back of the pack, allegedly waited for Jaden Munoz to lap him before making deliberate contact, a well-known payback move in the virtual racing world. The incident ignited a furious outburst from Munoz, who didn't hold back in his criticism of the reigning F1 champion. In a scathing rant, the Williams iRacing Academy driver claimed Verstappen would be a nobody without his father, Jos Verstappen, who competed in 106 Formula One races between 1994 and 2003. Munoz's comments have only added fuel to an already heated rivalry, proving that even in the digital realm, tempers can flare just as fiercely as they do on the real-world racetrack. He said, "I knew it. This is why you're gifted everything in your life, Max. You're a spoiled brat. You'd be nothing without your father. You'd be nothing. You'd be a nobody. He's such a idiot." Max Verstappen's fiery on-track persona has put him in dangerous territory as the 2025 Formula One season kicks off, with the reigning champion just 4 penalty points away from a potential race ban. With drivers facing suspension at 12 points over a 12-month period, the Red Bull ace will need to tread carefully in the opening rounds of the year. Verstappen is set to start the season carrying 8 penalty points, 6 of which were racked up in a dramatic final stretch of the 2024 campaign. His aggressive duel with Lando Norris at the Mexican Grand Prix saw him slapped with 2 points for forcing the McLaren driver off track. A week later in Brazil, another point was added for failing to meet the minimum virtual safety car delta time in the sprint race. His controversial qualifying antics in Qatar earned him yet another penalty point, sparking a heated spat with Mercedes' George Russell. The most costly moment came in Abu Dhabi, where Verstappen was handed 2 points for a first-lap collision with Oscar Piastri. The Dutchman won't get any relief until June 30th, when his penalty for a 2024 clash with Norris finally expires. Until then, Verstappen faces a precarious balancing act, one more misstep, and he could be watching a Grand Prix from the sidelines. To add to his rogues gallery, Johnny Herbert, the now former FIA race steward, delivered a warning to Max Verstappen just days before his removal, advising the reigning F1 world champion that his rivals would soon rebel and push back against his aggressive tactics. Herbert, who found himself in the spotlight last season while officiating Verstappen's title fight, was vocal in his criticism of the Red Bull driver's on-track behaviour, particularly in clashes with Lando Norris. The two collided in Austria, Austin, and Mexico, with Herbert slamming Verstappen's horrible mindset after handing him a 20-second penalty at the Mexican Grand Prix. As a steward, Herbert had seen enough, and his final remarks to Verstappen were a pointed reminder that the driver's relentless approach could soon face serious resistance from his competitors. He said, "Verstappen's driving style was harsh, especially when he's taking a fellow driver off the track. It's an absolute no-no from me, current drivers, former drivers, and stewards. I am such a big fan of Verstappen, and it frustrates me massively when he drives the way he did in Mexico. He doesn't need to do it. He's so good in the cockpit. And at this point in the championship, he just needs to stay out of trouble and drive as well as possible." It certainly wasn't the first, nor likely the last time that Johnny Herbert had strong words for Max Verstappen. His repeated critiques of the Red Bull driver's tactics led to accusations of bias, which Herbert had no choice but to deny. "I'm an opinioned pundit, but when I'm giving penalties, I'm not biased," he said. Ahead of Wednesday's announcement that he would no longer serve as an FIA steward in Formula One, Johnny Herbert had one final message for the sport's reigning world champion. The three-time Grand Prix winner spoke to casinutanspelpaus.io, where he delivered a parting warning to Max Verstappen. What was entertaining about last year was Max Verstappen playing the game, and he was intimidating everybody on track with comments that he was making about every single driver. But they all started to rebel, they all started to push back, they all started to stand up to it, and George Russell was one of those that stood up to him. I think that is needed in the sport. Someone who will stand up to another driver because of the comments that he might have about what happened on the racetrack. That's what they should do. They should have respect for each other, and sometimes they show that respect when you stand up and say, "No, that's not the right thing," as Russell did to the press. And I think that's a good strength. A very, very good strength to have, because as much as Verstappen always wants to intimidate everybody, suddenly there'll be a question mark. Can another driver intimidate him at this particular corner, this particular lap, at this particular time in the championship? It's almost like there's question marks that have started to come in his head at the moment. But Verstappen is so confident and so in control of everything that's going on around him. I think Lando Norris is learning how to ask that question and probably sees what everybody else does when standing up to Verstappen. For years, Max Verstappen has been the benchmark in Formula One, ruling the grid with an iron grip since the dawn of the ground effect era in 2022. His raw talent, relentless aggression, and unwavering consistency have solidified his place among the sport's all-time greats. So, when the four-time world champion was recently asked about his weaknesses, his response was as sharp and unforgiving as his driving. In classic Verstappen fashion, he delivered an answer that left no room for doubt, one that perfectly captured the mindset of a driver who refuses to show any cracks in his armour. He said, "I don't feel like I have weaknesses, and of course, I will never admit it anyway." Max Verstappen's unrelenting self-belief is what truly sets him apart from the rest of the Formula One grid. Time and time again, he has silenced his critics, and in 2024, he proved that even without the most dominant car, he remains unbeatable, securing his fourth consecutive title despite the flaws of the Red Bull RB20. While many drivers adjust their approaches, second-guess their decisions, or crack under pressure, Verstappen stands firm. For him, self-doubt has no place. He refuses to entertain the notion of weaknesses, and it's this unwavering confidence that keeps him at the top of the sport. His philosophy going into racing is to find what works, perfect it, and never compromise. I'm very open-minded because I know I can always be better, but I also know it's very hard. As a driver, you have to be on top of your game every single time. You need to find what works for you because every single driver is different in their approach. I think I understood that very well. Despite his unyielding confidence, the 2025 season presents a new and formidable challenge for Max Verstappen. While Red Bull's performance issues in 2024 revealed some vulnerabilities, McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes are now closing in fast, setting the stage for a potentially tougher battle than ever before. One thing is clear. Max Verstappen remains as certain of himself as ever, and his rivals should take note. If Red Bull can deliver a competitive package, expect him to relentlessly pursue his fifth title with the same fiery determination that's been his trademark. But if the field really evens out in 2025, fans could see Verstappen pushed to his limits like never before, adding a thrilling new period to his already legendary career. What do you have to say about Jaden Munoz's comments about Max Verstappen? Is he really a spoiled brat who's had everything handed to him by his father? Share your thoughts in the comments section down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.